Hi everybody, today we're going to take a look at some more campaign ad reactions. And we've got a big race today. It's going to be the North Carolina governor's election. So we're going to take a look at 3 ads from Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, the Republican candidate, and 3 from Josh Stein, the Democratic candidate. We're going to play them, we're going to talk about them. Some of these are going to be pretty negative, but let's start with Mark Robinson. And probably over 90% of people either love him or despise him. But let's fire up his first ad and see what he's got to say.
A wide open border, nearly 500,000 illegals right here in North Carolina. Woke Josh Stein is to blame. Stein went to court over 15 times to block President Trump from securing our border. Stein ignored sanctuary cities, while over 500 illegals were released from jail. Sex offenders, kidnappers, murderers set free. Woke Josh Stein put his politics over your safety.
All right, so Robinson is going right after Stein. He's hitting him on immigration and crime. Stein is the AG, and I'm not exactly sure what he did on every policy, such as sanctuary cities, prosecuting offenders, or letting some out of jail. Maybe Stein would come back and say that none of this is true whatsoever. That's usually what happens. He's probably going to say it's just fear-mongering. But I would say people do care about crime. Democrats are usually viewed as lax on more crimes than Republicans. So even if there's a little bit of criticism there for Stein and what he did with some of these criminals, that might be concerning for enough voters, and Robinson is hoping that concern will translate into votes. So without parsing through the veracity of all the claims, I'd say it's an effective enough first ad. Now let's go on to Josh Stein's first ad. Let's get right into it.
If you work hard, where you come from should never limit how far you can go.
So Josh Stein has a plan to cut taxes for workers.
So we keep more of what we earn.
And they'll expand career and technical education and apprenticeship programs across the state.
Because you shouldn't have to go to college to get a good job and provide for your family. Let's build a stronger, safer North Carolina.
So Stein appears in this ad. I don't think he's overly charismatic, but his blandness is supposed to translate into stability. Now the ad itself is clearly going for the blue-collar appeal. He's just walking around a shop without a tie on. He's trying to come off as just a regular type of guy, not a politician. And it looks like he has some different workers from different trades that are backing him up. And his main pitch here is going to be lower taxes for workers. That's pretty generic. But he also touts how everybody does not necessarily need to go to college. I think that's going to have a fairly wide appeal. College is definitely not the answer for a lot of people. Making the trades seem more appealing, I think, is going to be a winning message. Now, there's probably a little bit of pandering in this ad, like most politicians. But I think it's going to be another decent ad for what it's trying to do. It's also not really a negative ad. There's going to be more of those coming up. So let's go on to ad number 2 from Mark Robinson. Here it is.
We watched in horror. Our cities burned, businesses looted, the scars still with us. We counted on Josh Stein. Instead, Stein praised protesters and capitalized on chaos to push his woke agenda. Defund the police, weaken sentences for violent criminals. Stein even cut a deal to release thousands from prison. Murder, rape, assaults, all up. Woke Josh Stein. Do you really know him?
Okay, this ad is not totally different from the first ad, except it focuses less on immigration this time and more on crime in general. Again, he's hitting Stein on letting criminals out early. There's some grainy shots of some rioting from what looks like back in 2020. And basically he's saying Stein dropped the ball when it comes to your safety. And so maybe it's all true, maybe it's partially true, maybe it's not true. As I already said, generally crime is an issue that benefits Republicans, but I think very few politicians are going to run on how they want to be softer on crime. And on pretty much all these ads, they do provide citations for these quotes. So I don't think most people have time to try to research how true they are. But so far these ads have some decent production, decent narration, and so far the general case against Stein is he's too woke and he's out of touch on some of these issues involving safety and immigration. Those are issues I do think Robinson should be going after. Now an issue that I don't think he should be going after is abortion. So let's get into this next ad from Stein, and he's going to hit Robinson on this issue. Let's do it.
Let's say I was the governor and had a willing legislature. We could pass a bill and say you can't have an abortion in North Carolina for any reason.
For me, there is no compromise on abortion. It makes no difference to me why or how that child ended up in that womb.
An abortion in this country is not about protecting the lives of mothers. It's about killing a child because you aren't responsible enough to keep your skirt down.
It's not your body anymore.
Alright, so we had to do one of these. Robinson has made a lot of statements about this particular issue, and I do think he's passionate about it, and I think he's sincere. He's clearly been outspoken about it because these are clips of Robinson himself. Now, it's possible that even in video clips, sometimes they are taken out of context, and that could paint a misleading picture. But I don't think his overall position has been mischaracterized. Maybe he's trying to moderate it a little bit, but Robinson has his beliefs. He's very pro-life. No matter what Robinson or Stein can say about it, that particular issue is going to benefit the Democrats. Some states are okay with more restrictions than others, but generally most states do not want hard restrictions. And these clips of Robinson with the suspenseful music playing in the background, they're sort of striking the same note as the ones going against Stein on crime. So the ad is probably going to be effective, given that it is actually Robinson on camera, and he's emphatic about what he's saying at the time. But Robinson himself did cut an ad on abortion. Let's see what he has to say.
30 years ago, my wife and I made a very difficult decision. We had an abortion. It was like this silent pain between us that we never spoke of.
It's something that stays with you forever.
That's why I stand by our current law, and it provides common sense exceptions for life of the mother, incest, and rape, which gives help to mothers and stops cruel late-term abortions. When I'm governor, mothers in need will be supported.
Okay, so that is the Robinson ad addressing abortion. It's a big topic. He's been on the defensive, so he puts that ad out. He's got his wife there. He has some old photos of himself. He seems to get emotional and open up on this personal issue. I'm actually not sure if this story was well known before this or if this is the first time he revealed it. But what I can say is the ad in of itself is probably a decent ad for the reasons I just listed. He sounds fairly moderate in this ad. He's not talking about a ton of extreme restrictions. He's open to exceptions. That I think works, but the big criticism I think people are going to take away from this ad is he seems like a hypocrite and he seems desperate. If he was previously against abortions and pro-life, how could he and his wife go through an abortion back in the day and then also want restrictions for women in the future? That I think is going to be one of the takeaways also, given how this issue does seem to help Democrats, and in the past his position has been much more restrictive. It might feel a little bit more insincere just so he can win some more voters. So I can have some respect for Robinson putting out this ad. It's obviously serious and personal, but I would also be concerned this ad would ring hollow. Now let's go on to the final ad from Josh Stein. Here it is.
Mark Robinson and his wife owned and operated a child care center. State documents show it was unsanitary and endangered children. The Robinsons were officially cited for lack of supervision and uncovered electrical outlets around 1-year-olds. Inspectors found falsified staff credentials and no criminal background checks. Documents showed the daycare center even operated at times without lights, heat, or running water. Mark Robinson, unsafe for our kids, unfit to be governor.
Okay, so Robinson here looks like a monster when it comes to children. The picture they use for him kind of looks like a mugshot. And as they narrate the conditions in this daycare, there's a reenactment there from these children to kind of really stir it up with the visuals. Now, is this ad true? Is it misleading? Is it false? Is it fair? Is it a cheap shot? Those are all going to be questions to answer. On a quick glance, I did not find the ad to be entirely false, but there's always going to be another side to it. I'm sure Robinson has an explanation here, just like Stein does on some of his accusations. But anytime you bring kids into it, that usually adds another layer of emotion onto things. So even if it's halfway true, I'm sure the ad would be successful enough, but maybe it's also unfair I haven't looked that far into it. And the same with the average voter, they're not really going to research these ads. It's really just all about how effective they are. And I think all 6 of these ads we took a look at here are going to be reasonably effective in their own way. And there are more ads out there than just these 3. But there's a lot of fireworks in this race. So I think that's going to be it for a look at some of these ads for North Carolina governor. So let me know in the comments. What do you think about any of these 6 ads? Do you like the Stein ads? Do you think they're effective or do you think they're misleading? And what about Mark Robinson? Do you think he hit the right notes or do you think he's way too much of a controversial wild card? Let me know what you think of the effectiveness of any of these ads down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.